You know that feeling when, like, you're in a conversation, a question gets asked, and you absolutely know the answer?
Oh, yeah, the words are right there.
Right. They're in your head, lined up, translated, and just completely ready to go.
Yeah.
But right before you actually open your mouth to speak, this really aggressive internal filter kicks in.
You start second-guessing everything.
Exactly. You start asking yourself, like, wait, did I use the right past participle? Or is my pronunciation of that one specific vowel going to sound weird?
Or what happens if the person across from you notices, like, a slight grammatical error?
Yeah, and while you're running that massive internal diagnostic check, the silence just stretches out. You hesitate just a second too long, and someone else jumps in.
They answer the question, pull the conversation in a completely different direction, and the moment just evaporates.
And you're left just standing there, thinking about how you had this perfect contribution, and you didn't say it.
It's incredibly frustrating.
It really is. So if you, as a listener, have ever felt that paralyzing freeze, today's deep dive is designed specifically for you. We are pulling from some amazing source material today. It's the very first script of a professional English learning channel called Chill Learn English.
Yeah, hosted by Gil and Jaden.
Right, Gil and Jaden. And their whole mission is helping people achieve real-world conversational fluency. And the title of this specific episode script we are diving into is it's a massive wake-up call. It's called You Don't Lack Talent, You're Just Demanding Perfection Every Time You Speak.
It's such a powerful hook because it challenges a very, very common assumption. I mean, most people who freeze in conversations, they believe their problem is like a lack of vocabulary.
Or they think they just don't know the grammar rules well enough.
Exactly. They think the solution is just to go back to the textbook and study more, but the source material argues the exact opposite.
Yeah, the silence isn't a talent issue at all.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. It's not a knowledge gap. It is a psychological trap that's created by this demand for instant perfection.
And to really understand how this trap works in practice, the script introduces us to this character, a language learner named Maya. And Maya represents a very specific, but honestly very common type of student.
Oh, absolutely. She's a classic overpreparer.
Right. So she has been studying English for 2 years, and if she is just sitting at her desk in the quiet of her bedroom, she can construct beautifully complex, grammatically flawless paragraphs.
She probably aces all her written exams.
Totally. She understands her teachers completely. But, and here is the catch, written exams and solitary study are asynchronous.
Right. Maya controls the clock.
Exactly. If she needs 60 seconds to remember a specific preposition, she has 60 seconds. Nobody is rushing her.
But the real world is synchronous. The friction happens the very moment she steps out of that quiet, controlled laboratory environment,
And into the chaotic, completely unpredictable reality of a live conversation, where time is basically the one resource she does not have.
And the script gives this brilliant, relatable example of this playing out when Maya goes to a local coffee shop.
Oh, the coffee shop incident. Yes. So she wants a specific drink, and because she's nervous, she actually builds the sentence in her head while she's just standing in line.
Rehearsing it over and over.
Right. She crafts this perfect, polite request. She plans to say, "Could I have an oat milk latte, please?" She is ready.
But then she steps up to the register, and the cashier throws a curveball.
A completely standard curveball, though. The cashier just says, "What can I get for you?"
Which is normal, but it's a slight deviation from Maya's expected script. And that immediately triggers cognitive overload.
Her brain just panics.
Yeah, she starts trying to process the cashier's actual words, adapt her pre-planned sentence, and police her own grammar all at the exact same millisecond.
It is exactly like a computer crashing because you tried to open like 40 heavy browser tabs at the same time. The internal monologue is just frantic.
She's suddenly wondering, wait, should it be a latte or one latte?
They pronounce the O in oat right.
Yeah.
Is the word could too formal for a casual coffee shop?
And while all this is happening, the spinning wheel of death is hovering over her head. The line behind her is restless.
And the cashier is just staring at her. So, overwhelmed by the pressure, Maya abandons the perfect sentence entirely. She just blurts out the word latte, grabs the cup when it's ready, and practically runs out of the store.
And she walks away feeling like a complete failure. She carries this tremendous amount of shame about her language skills.
Which is crazy, because what happened? She got the oat milk latte.
Exactly. Objectively, she successfully acquired the exact beverage she walked in there to get.
But she feels terrible because she's measuring her success by whether or not she delivered that beautiful, flawless sentence she designed in her head,
That's right.
right? Not by the fact that she actually communicated her desire.
And the source material highlights the real tragedy of this by contrasting Maya with another customer she sees later that same day.
Oh, at the bus stop.
Right. She overhears this other customer talking to a bus driver, and this person just points at the bus and asks, "This bus go downtown?"
Just a complete grammatical disaster. No auxiliary verbs, terrible syntax, totally raw.
Yeah, but what happens? The driver instantly replies, "Yes, number 12." The customer says thanks, gets on the bus, and just goes about their day.
So Maya, who has this superior grammar and extensive vocabulary, is paralyzed with self-doubt, while this other person, with a fraction of her linguistic knowledge, is navigating the city with total ease.
Because the difference isn't language proficiency, it's what the source calls the internal cost of entry for participating in a conversation.
The cost of entry. That makes so much sense. The bus customer has a really low cost of entry. They're just willing to throw a messy, imperfect idea out into the world just to see if it works.
Whereas Maya's cost of entry is astronomically high. She's trapped by this incredibly unfair, invisible comparison.
Because she's constantly judging her out-loud speech against her own internal editing process.
Yes, exactly. She hears every single hesitation, every alternative word choice, every doubt inside her own head, but she only hears the final spoken results of the people around her.
She can't hear the cashier's doubts. She can't hear the bus customer's internal monologue. So she just assumes everyone else is naturally confident and perfectly fluent.
Which is an illusion. Conversation is inherently messy for everyone. And the source outlines 3 secret rules of perfectionism that learners like Maya unconsciously adopt.
Oh, these are great. What was rule number 1 again?
Rule number 1,
No.
do not start speaking until the sentence is fully formed in your head.
Which is impossible in real time.
Right. Rule number 2, do not speak until the grammar has been thoroughly checked.
Again, way too slow.
And rule number 3, do not sound different from a native speaker.
I mean, if you try to operate by those 3 rules, you will literally never speak.
Never.
Those are rules for publishing a formal, peer-reviewed textbook. Not for, like, buying a coffee or catching a bus. A live conversation just doesn't wait for a finished draft. If you spend 5 seconds editing your first sentence before you even open your mouth, the person you were talking to had already assumed you either didn't hear them or you just don't want to talk to them.
So breaking free from this requires building a bridge over that moment of panic.
And the script introduces this incredibly practical tool for this, which they call the safety sentence.
I love the safety sentence.
Me too. Instead of freezing in silence when the words won't come, you actively claim the space. You say something like, "Give me a second, I'm looking for the words."
And what's crucial here is the tone. It is not an apology.
Right. You aren't saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, my English is terrible, please forgive me."
No, you're deploying a functional placeholder. You're telling the listener, hey, I'm still engaged. I still have the floor. Just wait a moment while my brain retrieves the data.
And that distinction between retrieving data and storing data, that requires a fundamental psychological shift for anyone learning a new skill. Knowing a language and using a language in real time are completely different neurological processes.
They really are. Fluency isn't just the accumulation of every single word in the dictionary. It's the ability to access and deploy the words you already possess with minimal delay.
The storage capacity is there, but the retrieval speed is lagging because of the panic. And the script uses an analogy that I think perfectly captures this disconnect. They compare learning a language to cooking.
Right, so reading grammar books, memorizing vocabulary lists, doing flashcards, that is all equivalent to reading a recipe.
And reading a recipe is undeniably helpful, obviously. You need to know what ingredients go into a dish, what temperature the oven should be.
But reading a recipe in a quiet room does not teach you how to cook a meal when the kitchen is completely chaotic.
Exactly. But here's my pushback, or at least the natural question that arises. When the pan is actually hot, right, the oil is popping, the smoke alarm might go off, and someone is sitting at the dining table staring at you waiting for their dinner, you have to make messy, real-time decisions. How do you stop the conversation from just burning down when panic sets in?
That is where the source introduces the concept of the repair kit. Because good communicators, and this includes native speakers, by the way, we constantly repair our speech on the fly.
We really do. We do it in our native languages all day long without even noticing. We start a sentence, realize we're going down the wrong path, and just say, wait, let me start over, or actually, that's not what I meant.
We don't abandon the entire interaction just because we use the wrong adjective. The objective of a conversation isn't to produce flawless, unbroken sound.
Right.
The objective is to send the main message, notice if the listener is confused, and repair the confusion without giving up.
And the sources offer specific repair phrases scaled to different comfort levels, which is super helpful.
Yeah, so a beginner might just say, "Can I try again?"
An intermediate learner might use something like, "What I mean is,"
While a more advanced speaker can pivot with, "Let me rephrase that."
and one of the most liberating pieces of advice in the script deals with forgetting a specific noun.
Hmm.
Like, if you forget the word for corkscrew, you don't have to stop the whole train just because one passenger is missing.
You just described the missing piece.
Exactly. You say, I don't know the exact word, but it's the metal thing you use to open a wine bottle. And the cashier instantly knows you mean a corkscrew.
You get the item, you survive the interaction, and the connection remains intact.
You survive, and more importantly, you prove to your nervous system that a missing word is not a fatal error.
But a very valid counterargument naturally arises here, and the source material actually tackles it head on.
Right. The accuracy debate.
Yeah. If we tell learners to just stop demanding perfection, lower their standards, and prioritize speed over correctness, doesn't accuracy still matter?
Right. Like, if you just keep saying the exact same grammatically incorrect sentence over and over again because it's fast and people generally understand you, well, you just cement terrible habits. At some point, you do actually want to speak the language correctly.
And accuracy absolutely matters. Dropping the demand for instant perfection does not mean you stop caring about grammar or abandon your studies.
So what's the difference?
The problem isn't the desire for accuracy. The problem is when you are demanding it. You cannot demand intense, focused error correction at the exact same moment you are trying to forge a human connection.
It's the browser tabs crashing again.
Exactly. You're asking the brain to perform heavy emotional labor and heavy analytical labor simultaneously. It just can't do it.
So the solution the source offers for this is brilliant. They call it the dual space strategy. You have to aggressively separate your language practice into two distinct environments.
Connection mode and training mode.
Let's break those down. Tell me about connection mode.
So in connection mode, which is when you're out in the real world, the message is the absolute monarch. Your singular goal is to push the idea across the finish line.
So you finish the idea, and you only deploy your repair phrases if the actual core meaning of what you are saying is completely lost on the listener.
Right. If you use the wrong verb tense, but they still understand the story you're telling, you do not stop. You keep the momentum going.
Okay, then what happens?
Then, once you are safely back home, you enter training mode. This is where accuracy gets its moment in the spotlight. You reflect on the conversation you had, or you listen back to a voice recording of yourself practicing, and you put on your editor's hat.
But even here, there's a really strict limitation to prevent that perfectionism from creeping back in.
Yes. You are only allowed to pick one single issue to fix.
Only one.
Just one. Because if you listen to a 1-minute recording of yourself and write down a list of 20 different grammatical mistakes, you will crush your own motivation.
You'd be terrified to open your mouth the next day.
Exactly. Small, highly targeted feedback provides a clear, achievable next action. You isolate one recurring mistake, and you practice saying the sentence again with just that one correction.
But how do you decide which mistake earns that single spot? Like if a learner makes 10 errors in a paragraph, how do they prioritize what gets fixed in training mode?
The guiding principle is to prioritize corrections that fundamentally alter the meaning of your message.
Give me an example.
Well, a wrong date, a missed number, or dropping a negative word like forgetting to include not in a sentence, that is incredibly dangerous to communication.
Right. If you say, I will meet you at 3.0 instead of 4.00, the grammar is technically perfect, but the communication is a total failure.
Precisely. Conversely, a slightly wrong grammar ending on a noun is rarely catastrophic. If you say, I need to buy 2 apples instead of apples, the listener knows exactly what you mean. The missing "s" does not destroy the connection.
So you correct the elements that cause genuine confusion first, and you save the tiny stylistic polish for much later in your journey.
Exactly.
Giving accuracy a specific job in training mode rather than letting it be the bouncer that keeps you out of the conversation entirely, it makes so much sense for daily life. But the script also addresses high-stakes situations, which I found really interesting.
Oh, this part is crucial.
Because Maya ordering a coffee is one thing. But what if you're walking into a job interview? What if you're presenting quarterly financials to your boss or explaining symptoms to a doctor? In those moments, Doesn't perfection become kind of a requirement?
Well, in high-pressure environments, the preparation strategy changes, but the core philosophy actually becomes even more critical.
Really? How so?
You absolutely spend more time in training mode beforehand. You drill your key facts, your hard numbers, the specific industry terminology you need. But walking into a job interview with the goal of flawless perfection is a recipe for disaster.
Because the moment you inevitably stumble on a single word.
The panic spirals and the rest of the interview collapses.
Wow, yeah. So the goal shifts from flawless execution to what they call clarity and confirmation.
You prioritize making sure the interviewer accurately understood your value over sounding like a pristine audio textbook. The source advises relying heavily on confirmation phrases.
Like saying, so just to confirm what you're asking.
Yes, or you summarize their points back to them. And crucially, the script emphasizes a point about accents that is vital for learners in these high-stakes environments.
Yes, this was a massive reframe for me.
An accent is not a mistake.
So many people view their accent as like a defect that needs to be scrubbed away before they can be considered professional.
But if the people in the boardroom can understand your message without straining or putting in intense effort, then your accent is functioning perfectly. It is simply a different acoustic delivery system for a successful message.
You do not need to mimic a native speaker's exact cadence to command respect in a professional setting. That is so empowering.
It really is.
So understanding all of this theory, the perfectionism trap, the safety bridges, separating connection and training modes, it's all incredibly eye-opening. But knowing the theory doesn't automatically rewrite your neurological responses, right?
No, you have to actually practice it.
And to actually change behavior, the source material lays out a highly structured 7-day, clear before perfect experiment.
I love this experiment. It functions essentially as a gradual exposure therapy for linguistic anxiety.
Yeah, the hypothesis is that if you consciously force yourself to lower your standard from perfect to just understandable +1 repair, you will build the muscle memory required to speak faster, sustain longer conversations, and recover from errors without that accompanying shame spiral.
And looking at the progression of the 7-day experiment, what fascinates me is how carefully it manages social pressure.
Right. It operates on 3 daily non-negotiable rules. First, you must start speaking within 3 seconds of having the thought.
Because the longer you wait, the more time your amygdala has to perceive the silence as a threat.
Exactly. Second rule, if you mess up, you must use a repair phrase instead of deleting the sentence and starting from scratch. And third, you only ever review one mistake.
The escalation throughout the week is incredibly deliberate. The first phase, days 1 and 2, is entirely private.
So no talking to strangers yet.
No, you're just recording short, unscripted audio memos on your phone about your day. You're training yourself to speak without a safety net and actively forcing yourself to use placeholder phrases like, "Give me a second," even if you don't strictly need them.
Just to build the physical habit of saying the words.
Exactly.
Then, days 3 and 4 push you into a supported phase. You still aren't talking to strangers, but you add a tiny bit of social friction.
Right. You send a voice message to a trusted friend, or you engage in a 1-minute practice chat with a supportive tutor.
Where the only metric of success is just staying in the conversation for 60 seconds without quitting.
And this controlled friction prepares the learner for the real-world phase on days 5 and 6.
This is where you actually go out and ask a genuinely low-risk question in public. You walk into a store and ask, what time do you close? Or you ask someone if a seat is taken.
The stakes are practically non-existent, but it forces the brain to execute the retrieval process while interacting with an unpredictable variable.
A stranger. And the most brilliant part of this real-world phase is how it handles the review process. When you listen back to a recording of yourself later in the week, you pick your one correction and you record the new improved sentence exactly once.
Yes, you are explicitly forbidden from recording it 10 times to get the perfect take.
Because obsessively re-recording feeds the exact perfectionism monster the experiment is trying to starve.
The goal is progress, not pristine audio. And this becomes incredibly clear on the final day of the experiment, day 7, the self-check, where you compare your day 1 recording to your day 7 recording.
The scorecard they provide for this final day completely redefines what a successful language learner looks like. Perfect grammar isn't even on the scorecard.
No, it is entirely behavioral, because if you evaluate your progress based on how nervous you felt, you'll always think you're failing.
Feelings are terrible metrics for growth.
They really are. The scorecard forces you to look at objective data.
The 4 questions on the scorecard are remarkably grounding. Number 1, Did you start speaking within 3 seconds? Number 2. How long did you continuously speak? Number 3. Did you successfully finish the main idea, regardless of the grammar used?
And number 4, when you got stuck, did you use a repair phrase instead of giving up?
It turns abstract progress into undeniable evidence. Even if your grammar was messy, if you can look at that scorecard and realize you started speaking faster, maintained the floor longer, and didn't panic when you dropped a word, you have achieved a massive victory.
It reminds me of the if-then planning framework they touch on in the script. The idea of deciding in advance, if I freeze, then I will say, give me a second.
Oh yeah, it is exactly like knowing where the emergency exits are on an airplane before you take off.
By planning your escape route before the alarm bells start ringing, you bypass the panic response entirely.
You don't have to invent a solution while your brain is crashing. You just execute the pre-programmed step.
You look at the card in the seat pocket while everything is calm. Then, if turbulence hits, you just follow the glowing lights to the exit.
If I freeze, then I use my safety phrase. You step right over the trap. And I think that really brings us to the core, undeniable truth embedded in all of these sources. The opposite of perfection isn't bad English.
No, the opposite of perfection is English in motion.
Every time you deploy a repair phrase, every time you stumble, describe your way around a missing word and finish the sentence anyway, you're proving to your nervous system that you can make a mistake and survive.
The listener didn't run away. The coffee was still ordered. The communication happened. The 7-day mission from Gil and Jaden is essentially an invitation to let clear be enough for today.
And to practice the messy, beautiful art of the repair. It is a profound shift in mindset that extends far beyond just language learning. Which leaves me with a powerful question for you to mull over as we wrap up this deep dive.
I love this question.
If demanding perfection is the invisible barrier keeping you silent in your English practice, where else in your life is an artificially high price of entry holding you back? Whether it's finally starting that new hobby you've been reading about for months, pitching a raw, unpolished idea at your next team meeting, or simply making messy small talk with a stranger. How much more of the actual world could you experience if you applied the clear before perfect rule to everything you try this week? Stop waiting for all the browser tabs to load, lower your cost of entry, and just start the conversation.